everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is February and that means it is anniversary month for me and my surgeries. Just wanted to say hello, welcome back. If you've been following my journey, I thought it was time for an update. And I wanted to let you know that there's a lot more stuff coming to the channel, not just surgery related. So if you're interested in other aspects of my life and just regular old fun lifestyle stuff, if you're into that kind of thing, stick around. You can see what I'm able to do even after having 2 neck surgeries. So you can kind of follow me along for that. I'd love to have you join me and subscribe. Hit the little subscribe button down below and hit the like button as well. Leave some comments if you have any questions about what we're going to cover today. Today I did want to talk about kind of just the basic update, how I'm doing at 1 year after C6-7 fusion surgery and 3 years, almost like a couple weeks from now, 3 years for a double cervical disc replacement. I had 4, 5, and 5, 6 replaced with a Prestige LP disc in 2018, and then I had a subsequent fusion last year in 2020. Seems like 2020 kind of didn't happen, so I have to remember what day it is, what year it is. Anyway, so that's kind of it. And then I'm gonna go through some kind of like my top 10 questions to ask your surgeon as you're kind of researching this process, if you're getting ready to have this surgery yourself, or just kind of curious about how it might work, if you might be a candidate, if you're not sure if you need it or want it yet. So I wrote down some of the questions that I asked as I was interviewing different surgeons, and so those might be helpful to you. And then I also wanted to cover 2 devices, sort of things that I have purchased that might be helpful to you as you recover, or even if you're not to the point of surgery yet, that it just kind of helped me with my posture and with just some pain relief and things like that. So stay tuned to the end and I'll go through all that stuff. So I thought I would just give you the quick update. If you've watched any of my videos recently, you probably have seen basically my update. I was back at the surgeon's office just for kind of a checkup, a check-in at the beginning of December 2020. And so this is now February, so it's been a couple of months since that appointment. And basically everything is fine, everything is good. I, for the most part, don't think of it that I've had this surgery. 3 years from my initial time is a while, and things are still great. Things are still seated in place. I've had no real complications. I will say that after you've had something like this, whether it's the surgery or just, herniated discs, pain, problem with your neck, pain, problem with your posture, and just anatomical things that are going wrong in your body, at least for me, I feel like I'm always going to have a little bit of residual pain. So if I overdo it, like today I was carrying my daughter a lot, and so I can feel the pain kind of in the center of my back, right along my spine, kind of out into my traps a little bit. Gets tight. It's mostly stuff that I can manage, and kind of, I feel like, unfortunately, the aches and pains that go along with a little bit of aging and just having had something done to yourself. I think most people who have had a surgery always know a little bit that, yeah, my knee is a little bit different now, or my shoulder, or whatever they've had worked on is just a little bit different. It's maybe not bad, and it's definitely better than it was before. I mean, you had the surgery for a reason, but for me anyway, I'm definitely better than I was before. I have feeling in my hands, I have function in my hands and my legs, which I did not have before, not completely. I will have times, especially when I wake up in the morning, things are stiff, things are tight, where it's a little bit harder to get going. I feel a little bit of that residual stiffness and kind of some nerve pain that I feel might be some entrapment, but also just might be tight muscles around those nerves kind of protecting and things like that. So hard to say, but nothing dramatic going on at this point. February has been a big surgery month for me, and first time and second time around, we're both in February. So right now, February looks clear on my calendar, so that is good for me. I'm not even 40 yet, so I have hopefully a lot more life to go. So something may happen in the future, and we'll just have to see and deal with that as it comes. But for now, I am functional. I am able to take care of my family. I feel like I am in a pretty good place. I'll always have to be a little bit careful, I feel like, but that's probably not a bad thing. If you're curious about how things have gone, please go back to the previous videos that I've posted, and you can see kind of my up and down roller coaster of when I have concerns and when I feel pretty good, and just how things have gone in general. and you'll know why I made the choices that I made and things like that. So that is my 1 year and 3 year update. I can't believe it's been 3 years. I remember when this first happened, I never knew if I would even get to this point. Like I couldn't imagine like this going well. I couldn't imagine that I would be to this point where things were fine again. It was such a huge part of my life when this was going on. It was such a huge hurdle to get over. Just so your life just kind of gets put on hold for a minute, and you have to recover, and literally you can't do anything for a little while. So, but it's all good now. For now, I'm glad to be hopefully like a positive example. I've seen a lot of videos online, and I was doing the exact same thing that you're probably doing now. And I have seen a lot of videos that kind of encouraged me that, okay, this isn't such a bad thing. It's just not so scary. I can get through this. Like, it might be a little bit of a difficult time, but in the end, I was glad that I did it. So since it has been 3 years, I thought people would be kind of curious just to see what my scars look like in that time frame. So you can see this one is after 3 years. I mean, it's still there, but it's very much like in a crease. So it's kind of not noticeable. And this is after 1 year. I have never done anything to really take care of them. I tried to be good about sunscreen. They do tell you to put sunscreen on them and keep them protected and covered out of the sun because it's such fresh new skin. So you want to protect that. But I didn't do such a good job of that. But and I never used any like scar creams or scar reducing things like that. I mean, I don't really care. It's kind of a cool battle scar in my opinion. It's a little bit of a talking point. I don't know. But I think that, I mean, they're flat. They're a little, I mean, they're red. But that's, other than that, sometimes this one down here itches a little bit. But this is what 3 years and 1 year of scars look like. So that's kind of the update. Let's go ahead and get going with my top 10 questions that I had in no particular order when I was researching surgeons. Who is going to do this surgery for me? I obviously went to several different doctors. I just made appointments. They were all at different practices, and they all had different opinions of what they should do. I saw two, I forget now. If you go back to my original video, it'll probably tell you. I think I saw 3 orthopedic surgeons and 1 neurosurgeon, maybe 2 and 2. I saw 4 doctors. 2 of them were definitely like, nope, we have to do the fusion right away with the ones that I have replacements on, my first surgery. 1 of them wanted to do like some experimental stuff. He's a big research guy, and so he wanted me to be part of a study, and he was only going to replace 1 disc, which I didn't feel like was the right thing. And then I finally found the surgeon that I went with, who was a neurosurgeon, and I felt like if you're going to mess around my spine and my nerves and the things that control basically the entire rest of my body, I felt like a neurosurgeon was best for me. I have heard of practices where there's 1 of each, and they're in there in surgery with you. So it really just depends on what you have access to and those kinds of things. But I don't know if it matters completely, because either way you go, hopefully those people are going to be trained in what they do. They're going to be experts in this particular spinal surgery and various other ones, and hopefully have experience. First of all, you're going to have, hopefully, you'll go in, doctor will maybe look at an MRI, look at your x-rays, and talk to you about basically what they think. So you want to ask them, what's their diagnosis? What do they recommend? Basically start off, what's going on? What do you think I need to have done? And kind of get the ball rolling from there. That's what I would start with. Just get their overall assessment of the situation and listen to what they have to say about their ideas for what you should do. For me, it was important to ask, the number 2 thing to ask would be probably their track record. How long have you been doing surgery in general? You can probably find a lot of this stuff out online, or Google their bios before you go. But, what's their track record? How many of these surgeries have you done? Like a 2-level disc replacement, at least 3 years ago when I was doing this, was a little bit uncommon. It hadn't been that long that 2 levels had even been approved in the United States. And this is for the United States, obviously. If you live in another country, European countries, I know when I was researching this, that was where a lot of people were going, because they were doing different devices. They were doing multiple 4-level surgeries, things like that. So it just depends on where you live and who you have access to, or if you're willing to travel. When you interview these people, you have a right to ask, who is this person? So what's their track record? Have they had to redo people's surgeries for errors? I mean, sometimes they'll tell you that, or sometimes they'll be forthcoming with certain information. Have they had many complications? Like, what's their track record? Can you find reviews on them? Those kinds of things to feel comfortable with who you're seeing. This is my number 3 question, but it's pretty important, I think. And I'm surprised a lot of people don't know this. I wanted to know what device were they going to put in. Were they going, if a fusion is recommended, what is that? What company makes that device? What does it look like? What is it going to be in my neck? What materials is that made from? Or if it's a disc, what disc is that? Is it the Mobi-C? Is it the Prestige LP, which is what I have? I think the M6 is now approved in the United States. So that's a big question, is what device is going to be in my body, because that leads you to another question of, is my body compatible with this? All the devices are made out of different materials, so making sure that you're not going to have an allergy, which my surgeon didn't really think that was going to be a problem, but I went ahead and did a metal allergy testing, and maybe I'll cover that in another video, kind of what that process was like and what my results were, and the company that I used, etc. But knowing what's going to be put in your body, I think, is important. To just know if you do have an allergy, especially like to nickel, I think is kind of common. What device are they going to use? Are you compatible with that? So knowing what that is, I think, is important. So asking that question. And also, if you think you are better suited for a certain thing, I think it's reasonable to ask that, but what does your surgeon have the most experience with? So making sure that you feel like your surgeon has the most nimble hands at that particular device and that particular approach to the surgery, I think, is a good question to ask them. Another question would be, where will the surgery take place? Will it take place in a standard medical hospital, or will you be in an outpatient center, or will you be in just a spine hospital? I was in an outpatient surgery center that was only for spine patients for both of my surgeries. Well, one of them was considered outpatient, one of them was considered inpatient. It was the same building, but one of them was more prepared to keep you overnight if they needed to, and the other one was mostly set up to kind of get you in and out pretty quickly. I felt a little bit rushed in my particular case, but I'm kind of a slow mover in general. So anyway, so knowing where you're going to have the surgery take place, are you comfortable with the level of, if you have an emergency, how do they handle that? I'm sure that all places are well equipped and well trained and things like that, but I was a little worried that I wasn't close to like the best state-of-the-art emergency equipment if I needed that, because this is a surgery I'd never had before. I'd never had any surgery before. I'd never been under anesthesia before. I just wanted to think that I had all possible, resources at my disposal. But in both cases, it turned out just fine. And then just kind of having them walk you through, how is the surgery going to work? Like, what do they do? How does it work? Where is my scar going to be? What are possible complications like? What will happen once you're in there? How long does the surgery take? Those kinds of things will just be good for kind of peace of mind as you prepare, and as you prepare your family or whoever's maybe going to pick you up. Just kind of how long to expect those things is another good question to ask, just so you have an understanding of what you're about to go into. Along with question number 1 about what their recommendation is, I think another question would be like, what are the alternatives? Do I have to have this surgery now? Can I wait and see? Can I do physical therapy? Are there other ways? Maybe there are injections or other things that are appropriate for you. I think asking that question is good, just to know if you have kind of the full understanding of what is going on. So I think being an informed patient is important. For me, definitely, it made me feel better to understand, okay, what I am learning and what the doctor is saying mesh, and they make sense, so we're on the same page. For me, I wanted to understand exactly what was going on. I wanted to know and look up the anatomy. I wanted to understand like dermatomes and myotomes and what nerves were innervating what, and why was my thumb hurting versus my pinky versus my elbow, and how it all connected. And is there anything you can do in the short term to help you prepare for surgery? I know that I'm not a smoker, but I think a lot of surgeons tell people just quit smoking if they can, because it helps with healing. if you are not smoking. So that's something to know about beforehand. Another question that you might want to ask is, and it goes along with what's happening in the surgery, would be if you're going to have any neuromonitoring, if that's something that they are able to provide, if that's something that is recommended for you, if it's necessary for you or not. I have a whole nother video about neuromonitoring and what that is and how they can monitor your nerves during the surgery to see if once they release the pressure off of your spine or your nerve root, if that actually improves things. Watch my other video about neuromonitoring if you want to know what that is and how that works, but that's something that exists, and so some doctors may do that, they may not. But anyway, just another question to ask. Another important question is to know, okay, so after the surgery, what's the follow-up like? How often, when do I come back? Who do I see? How often am I checked? Do I get x-rays? Things like that, just to know what your follow-up regimen is going to be like. How long do they follow you? So after my disc replacement, he followed me for a year. I had follow-ups, I think at 4 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, maybe 9 months, I don't remember, and then at a year. And after a year, if things looked good, I was discharged. He discharged me this time at 6 months. He said things were fusing, things looked fine, no major issues. He didn't need to see me again. So kind of my last two questions sort of go together, and those would be along the lines of your follow-up. So what are your post-op restrictions? When can you get back to certain activities, and what are you not allowed to do in the short term, and for how long? So when are you allowed to go back to work? When are you allowed to go back to like recreational activities and sports? Depending on their level of intensity, I think the answer would probably be different. When are you allowed to go back and get your hair done? Put your head in the sink. Even like going to the dentist, I think some people care or were more concerned about like infection potential and things like that, even at the dentist, because it's all kind of drains into the same area, so you might want to be careful with that. And plus, just having extra work done on your head and neck it's all kind of connected. So that would be a good question to ask. Another question would be kind of like your post-op restrictions, lifting restrictions. And this is all pretty common. Like this is stuff that they'll probably give you as part of their just standard information. But if you don't get it, be sure to ask it. Well, do you have lifting restrictions, activity restrictions, certain things you should or shouldn't do? Like not just lifting, but like bending, reaching overhead, certain things like that. What is your medication schedule? Make sure you have your scripts available, filled, whatnot, right after surgery. A bathing schedule, how long till you can get your incision wet. Those are all really standard, just general surgery questions. Usually they send you home with a packet of information, so that should all be in there. And then also information about who to call and when. Like if you have a question, who are you supposed to call? You're supposed to call your surgeon. Does your surgeon have a designated nurse on standby for those kinds of questions who can kind of triage whether that's an emergency or whether it's just a standard question everybody has that just because you're inexperienced with how you're supposed to feel afterwards, is this swelling normal? Is the swelling abnormal? Is it draining? Or what are the signs of infection? Who do you call in that situation? I think getting those names and numbers beforehand is very important. So just kind of taking care of yourself, thinking what are the possibilities and am I totally prepared? Whether it's you or your family, whoever's coming with you or taking care of you when you get home. I have gotten some questions on my end on YouTube and things about how long did I need somebody with me. But in my case, both times I had small children, and so it wasn't so much that I needed help for myself, but it was that I had lifting restrictions and I had laundry and dinner and things like that needed to be taken care of, and I couldn't really be doing those things for at least a month. So I needed somebody with us like every day for a month. I needed somebody to help take care of the kids and take care of the other parts of my life. I didn't need somebody so much to take care of me. I did need that maybe for the first 3-4 days to help me because I was really stiff after the first surgery. So having somebody kind of help me get dressed just to make life easier. I could probably have done it on my own, but it just makes things easier. So yeah, having somebody available to be with you, who's that person going to be, having kind of your support system set up in advance is another a good thing to think about in advance. But those are kind of my main top questions for kind of interviewing your surgery team and getting to know your surgeon and feeling comfortable with what's going to happen. I think there's a bunch of other questions that you could probably ask about your personal situation, your personal health history, if you have other illnesses or other conditions to be aware of. All of that stuff can go into it, and that's very personal about what you personally need to feel comfortable and supported during the surgery. But those are kind of my main questions that I had going into this surgery for myself. And feel free to write down any more in the comments below, so people, if they're coming here for the same reason to kind of research, they can have the other questions and things like that. But I came across, I literally took a notebook to the surgeon's office. I've been cleaning out an office and space, and I found my notebook that I took with me, and it's got the surgeon's information on it. It's got all the questions that I asked different people, how, the same questions about my kyphosis, and is a disc replacement really going to work, and specific things to me. Do I need one level fixed? Do I need two levels fixed? All that kind of stuff. Several pages. Everybody's different. Another good question to ask would probably be about insurance and payment. Who handles the payment? Who do I call? How do you need a pre-approval from your insurance? All that stuff is very standard. Doctors' offices do this all the time. That's what they do. So making sure that you understand what your financial obligation is beforehand is a pretty important thing to know. What is your surgeon, or what is your insurance going to cover, and what percentage of it is your responsibility? Is it going to cover a disc replacement? That disc replacements have been considered experimental for a long time, so are they up to speed with the fact that it's pretty normal nowadays? So I think understanding that before you get into something, and everybody's situation in that is extremely different, depending on where you live and who your insurer is, or if you have insurance or not, etc. So that's another good question to know before you dive into a major surgery. That's my advice to you. A couple of other things that I wanted to share with you that have just kind of helped in my journey and my healing process. I have two things. I'm going to put links to all of this stuff down in the description below, so you can go find exactly what I have and the links to them on Amazon. These are all just Amazon purchases, and I have used them. So this is a brace for your back. So it goes on kind of like a shirt. I don't have it. My husband's been borrowing it, so I don't have it set to me. You need to have it kind of tight, but it keeps you from slouching. It kind of, if nothing else, it's just like a reminder to keep your posture better. So I have liked this, and it has actually made an improvement in my pain when I use this. If I'm having a lot of midline central pain, probably from slouching and having bad posture in my forward head and things. So this is just a nice reminder. It makes it hard to slouch. You can't tell right now because it's stretched out, but it's very adjustable. It's pretty comfortable. It has some padding and stuff like that. It's just Velcro, so you can tighten it up and keep your shoulders held back a little bit. You just want to be careful that you're not pinching on anything and you're not, causing more pain. So anyway, this is something that I've tried, and I don't use it all the time, but if I'm having a bad day, I will use this just kind of as a reminder. The other thing that I have had to use is this, and you may have seen this online if you've done any searching. It is a kind of like a cervical traction device. Obviously, I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm not prescribing this to anybody. This has worked for me, and you need to take your own situation into account. This can be kind of constricting around your neck. You need to be careful about your arteries, your circulation, any other issues you may have in your neck. But for me, you put this on, you kind of Velcro it around, and you pump it up, and it kind of separates. It kind of gives you some lift and takes the pressure off of your head around your neck and kind of creates a little bit of space. It has worked for me. It has given me some relief. So I'm going to put the link to this down below too. Again, it's just something that I have found that worked for me. Don't just take my recommendation blindly. You do your own research and make sure that it's appropriate for you. But anyway, these are two things that exist out there. It's hard to do traction on yourself. I know that you can do traction if you go to therapy, and there are devices, but they're very expensive and they require kind of some monitoring, and you have to be strapped in, and it's really hard to do that to yourself. They also have over-the-door traction devices and things with like heavy bag of water or things that kind of create that separation and kind of basically put the space back in your neck that your discs have lost because they have kind of seeped out. But anyway, that is, these are my two kind of go-to things if I start to have pain other than like medication. But I will put some links down below. You can read a little bit more about them. There's other people online I've seen that have done reviews of these two types of things. So anyway, yeah, I use those things if I need to. But I think that kind of does it for my 1 year and 3 year update. Be sure, again, like I said, like and subscribe. Hang out with me some more. I will be continuing to do some cervical, neck surgery, fusion, disc replacement videos every now and then as I think of things that come up or that I've received questions about. Like I said, I might do something covering the metal allergy testing, other things like that if I have other questions that come up. But I just wanted to give you my update, kind of a little bit of information for you. I hope that if you're going out looking for information for something like this, that you find it. You find a solution, that you find some pain-free days. I hope that you are able to kind of improve your quality of life, whatever you decide to do. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I can tell you my personal experience. And really, my advice is always to just do your research and kind of look into it a little bit more, whatever you feel like is right for you. But anyway, I wanted to just give a little update. I wanted to say I've made it a year, I've made it 3 years. It is possible. I hope that you join me for the rest of my videos, whether it be neck related or whether it be lifestyle related, because you can get back to work, you can get back to life after something like this. I have been able to do it with a little bit of support, and I want to support you all as you kind of go through this journey. I know it's scary. So I hope you have a good rest of your day, good rest of your month, year, everything. And I will be back soon with some more videos. I will see you later. Bye.